How do I do two? Okay, this is 52 Weeks of Design Live, and I am inviting people to join, which I believe I can do, but we will find out if I can do.
Oh, hello there.
How are you?
We're good, and we are glad we remembered how to do this, although we needed a little tutorial.
Well, hello, anybody join. This is, of course, Jamie Drake, who I feel like I kind of live with, and Kate Anderson. Hi, guys.
I
This is the first Instagram Live I've ever done. Can you believe that?
Really?
Yeah.
Do not believe.
New territory. I'm actually not great at Instagram, so
Well,
this is
how do you know?
You know, you're great at living, so this is live, so everything's going to be great.
yes.
And it's nice again, Alexa, after we were seated next to each other on Saturday night.
We were at a beautiful wedding and made it only more beautiful by getting to be with you.
Yes.
So, how long, just to get everybody up to speed, because then I want to ask you about your new book, but your story of how you ended up being partners is really cool. So, will you tell it?
So I actually interned for Jamie in 2008, and then he hired me about a year and a half later. And so I came up here and worked for him for a few years, and then I left and I briefly worked for another architect, and then I started my own business, which at the time I can't say I had an intention of starting a business. It just kind of happened, and did pretty well with that. And as you know,
You did very well.
as I'm focused on growing that business, Jamie invited me to lunch one day, just kind of a casual, friendly lunch, and he asked if I wanted to be partners, business partners. So, of course I said yes, and here we are almost 7 years later. So it's been 7 years since Drake Anderson came to be.
First, I want to ask you, Jamie. I mean, obviously, I know Caleb and I know his work, and it's brilliant. And I know you and your work, and everybody knows you and your work, and you have been brilliant forever. What made you decide, like, I want to have a partnership, and besides talent, like, this is what I mean, it's so foreign to me to think how you came to that decision, and it's been so successful. I kind of want to crack your.
So I started to think about how do we continue to be vital and grow and maybe have some more input and a little less stress on me. And, I thought about partnering with somebody, and I made a very short list, and then I made the list a little shorter. And then there really was only one viable candidate, and it was Caleb. And part of the reason was because Caleb had a complete package of skill sets. It wasn't just that he was a good designer or a nice person. I had seen him do 2 or 3 show houses, and I was in awe of, since he was a young firm, that he knew about marketing and the power of that, and his design for a show house downtown in the Wall Street area. Well, who was that for?
It was for Lenox Hill.
Yeah, and he did an amazing bedroom that was just fresh and wonderful and beautiful and reminded me of his enormous talents. And I think to be a principal in a firm, you need to have all the skills: design, marketing. He had experience of his own firm already for a few years, so he had financial acumen, and learned the highs and the lows of that. And Caleb really had the full package.
Yeah. But that's also very interesting on the show house side of things, for young designers or any designers. They are so important, and sometimes you just don't know why. I mean, many of our show houses.
Do you think show house is important, Alexa?
I do. And if anybody doesn't know why Jamie's saying that with such a Cheshire cat grin on his face. He and I are co-chair of the Kids Space Show House and of the Southampton Show House. Jamie, are we co-chairs of any other show house that I should recall?
I think that's it at the moment.
But there is debate in the world of design among designers about whether or not they have value in beyond their philanthropic value, which is unmeasurable. And I obviously, and if it's not obviously, I'm saying it now, really, really believe in their importance. And this story is such an interesting new wrinkle to that calculus. You know, it never would have occurred to me, but of course it should. That's a great way for designers to know of each other, whether they're going to work together, or partner, or hire each other, whatever. It's a great means of communication.
I was just going to say, I mean, for me, when I started my business, one of the challenges whenever you're first starting a design business is you don't really have a portfolio. And the portfolio you have, you're a lot of times taking on projects where you're really kind of doing things that are not necessarily of the voice you want to have or the perspective that you want to have. So, doing a show house is like this immediate portfolio builder, and it really allows you to project a point of view, which can take time, as you're building a company and your brand. So I found it really beneficial to kind of have this immediate portfolio, create an aesthetic and a point of view that otherwise would have taken probably many years. And I found that to be very beneficial beyond, obviously I met Press, I got House Beautiful Next Wave, Cottages and Gardens, Rising Star, all of that was from me doing a show house. So a lot of times when younger designers or people starting their own firms, I always suggest doing a show house. Now it's expensive, but pretty much everything I was making, I was pouring into these show houses, but I think it paid in dividends, and certainly at the time was a really great thing for me to do.
And I think that we know from storytelling of the industry that some show houses are huge business developers for designers, like the Kips Bay Palm Beach Show House. Everybody seems to get a project at the show house. So it is amazing. And as Caleb said, then the other side of it, besides hoping to get clients, is really getting a higher profile in the design industry amongst the press, amongst suppliers, vendors, and partners.
And there's, a show house is always
Is there resources that you get exposed to? I've walked through rooms and been like, oh, that person did this. This artisan exists here in the city. I didn't know about them. It's great.
Yeah.
Now you train of thought. You also make friends.
Yes.
Great. So together for 7 years. Well, more if you count when you were working together prior. And you've done tons of work. Every time I pick up a magazine, there you guys are. And you have recently come out with a new book called Bold, which is amazing. Tell me about it. And how long did you work on it? Because my experience is books are not a quick turnaround item.
And made even longer by COVID in this case.
Yeah, no, I wanted to do a book for a really long time. I've always loved books, and, my first view into the world of design was not by actually being in homes. It was through, going to the library or the bookstore and looking through books or magazines. So they were always such a point of inspiration for me. So doing a book was always a big deal, some kind of a bucket list accomplished. So, I think it was something that we felt, we had at the time we decided to do a book, that we had enough work, a body of work that reflected, the partnership and Drake Anderson and, everything that we had done. So we did a lot of photography. We worked with Nassiter on the text, and she did a brilliant job. But we started working on it a while ago. I think, it's well over 3 years ago.
Yes.
And it got put on hold because of COVID. And so, you know, when it came out, it's like, oh yes, we did a book. But you know, it's been a really fun fall. You know, seeing it actually in print and people being able to buy it on Amazon, and you know,
I remember when the one day a package arrived in the office, and I opened it, and it was the actual book. And I got chill. I got
Yeah.
a chill. It was so exciting to see it. You know, of course, we had seen the galleys and we had seen all sorts of variations, but to actually see it all bound and its cover and all together, it was just so exciting.
yeah, I don't know about you, but for me, you know, at the point of photography in a project, that's like the moment where the vision becomes real. Like you're able, you know, I love working with the photographers and styling the shoots because you can really capture what you were trying to accomplish in the project, and it's, you know, it's there, it's for forever. You know, you have this beautiful photo and it's, you know, like art of sorts.
Do you photograph projects right after you finish them, or do you have a philosophy of how to go about that?
It's always best to do it as soon as possible because lives and clients and things evolve and they add things and things, and you know, we come in and so as fresh as possible. But I have to say most of our clients seem to be very respectful of the finished products, and even going back a year or two later, they still look really top notch.
It's also, you know, we've kind of formulated for the most part in our process, you know, if you do a shoot at the end of a project, that's a good opportunity to layer in the objects, the accessories, show clients how they can style with the florals, add a few pieces of art, and it can often turn into additional.
Such an important point to make, and it deserves repeating. That if you're taking a photograph, whether it's for your portfolio or for a book or for a magazine shoot, it gives you an opportunity to bring that last layer. Their firm name is Drake Anderson, but that photo shoot is an opportunity to bring things in. Though I did once get yelled at by an antique store for taking it for a shoot, though I thought I had made it clear that that's what I was doing.
I think,
Yeah.
yeah.
What?
And I think we always make it clear that what we're taking it for.
It's
And there's is that client will see it and go, you know what, that is great. Let's get that. And you know, I would say we have a fair amount of success with that. They often don't take everything, but they will take some important pieces. Sometimes they take nothing. Honestly, you never know.
But it's no different than borrowing something on approval. That is, except that they have a higher chance of being selected because it is, as you said, Caleb, like it's the whole vision pulled together.
You know, clients, they respond to a portfolio that's so layered and has all of these aspects. But a lot of times when we're working with a client, where we're in the midst of a project with a client, there is resistance towards those last layers. And to me, it doesn't look finished if you don't have the artwork, the objects, you know, the throws, those kinds of things. So it can be a good tool and let them really see the full vision intact, and kind of, I think they have fun kind of going around, and it's almost like a shopping trip where things are brought into your space and they can make decisions and see it in situ.
It's a modern version of shop at home for slipcovers, where they would come in, or was it Decorating Den that had vans or something?
I've never even heard of that.
Oh, that was an old school thing. Shop at home, like everybody, Macy's, Bloomingdale's. They'd bring you swatches for your slipcovers or whatever, just right into your house.
A Tupperware for decorating. I love it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. But
what
all that detail really is, and most of the projects that are in the book, I mean, or all the projects, are ones that we do pretty much turnkey, where we have done all of the accessories, the art, the tabletop, the bedding, and clients, we have quite a few clients who do allow us that and empower us to do that. And I think that we have more and more clients coming to us who want that. They want that final touch. They don't want to be mystified how to pull it all together.
tell me about the book and how you structured it.
So there are 5 thematic chapters, such as witty, sexy.
Yeah.
And we explain in those chapters, exquisite, some of the key things that we embody in our work.
I have a book here handy.
Excellent.
Just as talking points. But yeah, interspersed. So there's core kind of project chapters where we show a full project, and then interspersed with these adjectives that describe the book, describe the brand. We have picture collages of details representing those aspects.
I'm sorry.
There's 7 projects, and they range from the very contemporary.
Someone asked what the cover looks like. I'm showing, but not in reverse. Are y'all seeing it reverse?
But luckily, if it's only 4 letters bold, most people can read that backwards. And it's big, it's bold.
It's not a blob.
That embody some that are more minimalist and Zen. It's like the last project, which is a glass house in upstate New York. And then others that are transitional, bordering on traditional, including a London townhouse and a house on Long Island. And then there are the ones that are in between, which are maybe truly our signatures, which are contemporary statements of refinement and urbanity and sumptuousness.
Alexa, my apartment that was around the corner from you, which you never came by to visit, is in the book, but I sold it to a client.
Have you?
I moved. Yeah, no, I sold it to a client down to the hangars.
Wow.
But it's in the book.
Down to the hangars, I think even beyond the hangars, what's so interesting is Caleb was going to take his library, his books. Client said, I want the books.
Yeah.
So was the buyer, just out of curiosity, a single man with interests such as yours? Or
No,
was it a couple or?
It was a couple.
So crazy.
It will be their pied-à-terre, and it's very interesting. Actually, I say it's a client. It was a prospective client that hopefully we're doing another project with.
Right.
They had called us about doing a project in Arizona, and within that call, which they already own the house, within that call, he said, "Yeah, we're also looking for a place in New York, a pied-à-terre, fully turnkey, fully furnished, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,500 square feet." And so I said, "Well, my apartment," and he flew up here a week later and he bought it.
And he was quite clear when he meant turnkey because he had bought turnkey in the past where the art left and the accessories left, and he did not want that. He wanted everything to stay behind.
So did you buy him a library?
No, there were some books that had sentimental value that I pulled out, but I sold most of and I have a lot of books. You can see in the book.
Yeah, I'm sure you just wrote down the titles and got them again.
No, I don't. There was actually something really. That apartment was gorgeous. I loved it, but it was, right now I'm in a temporary furnished rental until I figure out whatever the next project is, and it was kind of no attachment to it. Suitcase and a couple boxes, and what's next?
Yeah, that's kind of freeing. It's sort of a fantasy.
Yeah.
I could do it, but I'd love to try.
I did it for 6 months. I lived in a furnished rental, and it was very cathartic. It was all brand new furniture, crate and barrel or similar, covered in, just like canvas. And it was very cathartic.
I will say, unfortunately, the temporary rental flooded last week, so it's not been, that put a little hiccup in things, but other than that, it's been great.
Jamie, what do you think you're known for?
What do I think? What?
Jamie, you've had a long, amazing career with huge highlights, tons of awards. I mean, you are rightfully, at the very, very top of our world. I know I always associate you, right or wrong, with color. But I know we've talked before, I've seen you speak and show certain images of your work and point out, even in rooms that are completely monotone, maybe there's a piece of art that's very bright and colorful, and the headline will even be like, crazy color,
Right.
but it's not. So what do you think you are known for? And Caleb, I'm coming at you with this too.
So certainly I am known for color, and you're absolutely right. I remember when I was on the cover of the Color issue, my first time I ever got a cover, House Beautiful magazine, decades ago, and Marion McAvoy inside called me the king of color, and it was a white room with a big sofa and a couple of mid-brown chairs and a darker brown chaise, but there was impactful use of color with giant turquoise curtains and throw pillows and some accessories. And it made me even think about how how subconsciously or artistically I use color. But I think the other things I'm known for is urbanity, is cross-cultural mix, and eclecticism. Those are the things that I personally like and that we often get to bring to our projects.
And Caleb, what do you think your characteristics are? What do you think people think of you, and what do you think of you?
That's an interesting question because I feel like I'm evolving a lot all the time. Historically, I think, people associate me with, mixing contemporary and antique and modern and classical, really interesting, strong juxtapositions. I think a lot of the rooms and interiors that I designed there, they have a lot of strength and a lot of power, but there's also like a quietude to it, kind of a grace to it. I love curves. So, most of the work, a lot of the work we do is very curvy. It's very feminine. I think that's definitely an aspect. I think a lot of what I'm stepping into, and even in the firm, what we're trying to do is marry this kind of beautiful, fine, artful aesthetic with new considerations around sustainability and social equity in design, healthy materials. So we've had a lot of fun with that. We actually hired a healthy materials consultant over the summer, and have really started introducing that conversations to our team. And, I think that the future of design definitely embraces that, and, it can still be beautiful. It can still be dynamic. It's just these additional considerations, new priorities, and bringing that into the design.
I'm very impressed by that. So you guys sat down and said, we're committing to this, and we're committing to this by getting an expert in who can help guide us.
Yeah, I think over the past few years, a lot of people in design, a lot of people in general have just done a lot of reconciling and like, what can I do? What more can I do? And really trying to find, ways to bring more meaning and purpose to the work that they do. And, I took a course actually over the summer at Parsons. It was a continuing education course on healthy materials. And it was something I had an interest in and a heart for, but it really kind of just lit a fire under me of like, we have to do this. And it's not just designers, it's a much bigger conversation, and trying to bring in manufacturers in the workrooms. So for example, if we're working with an upholstery workroom for the past 20 years or however many years, 30, 40 years, we can now say with this consultant, we've studied this sofa. This is great, you've been making these sofas for us, but can you now make it this way? And in doing that, we're elevating their practice as well. And, I think as an industry, we can be doing more and more of that. And, the commercial firms, the hospitality firms, to some extent, they've been doing this. I think when in the high-end residential world, not a lot of us are doing enough of it. It doesn't mean that it still can't be high-end residential. It just means that there's a whole world of innovation and new materials and new things to explore.
So what would you advise someone like me to do? What are some beginning steps that I don't even realize are easy for me to take?
Well, I think for one thing, this course I took at Parsons is completely fascinating. I would advocate for any designer to take it because it's so important.
Work or it's weekends? What is it?
It's at your own pace. There are quizzes, but you take them till you get 100. It's the Healthy Material Lab through Parsons, Jamie's alma mater.
And I'm on the board, so I'm thrilled that Parsons is doing things that really are of the moment.
But I think it's really just, it really starts with asking more questions and shifting priorities. So if you think of your clients, for example, their priorities, they're always going to be budget, they're going to be schedule, but where is health in that conversation? Where is sustainability in that conversation? And so it's bringing those things into view with your clients. But if you look at your current material resources, it's kind of like food. The fewer the ingredients, the more natural the ingredients, the healthier it is. So these fibers and these things that we've been using for hundreds of years, the natural wools and silks and things like that, those are healthier. And it's also just being in the question, always asking questions about where something's coming from. I think it's important to align with companies and brands who are kind of thinking in the same way. But I think a good starting point is that course, and it's just asking more questions, doing more research, and evaluating priorities.
I think it's just the fact that you start when you describe it with health. I think that's, for me, mind altering, because sustainability, which is so critically important, doesn't feel as much of it. I mean, it's total emergency, but it's oh yeah, sustainability. If you frame it in your mind as health,
Right.
Yeah.
there,
It's like, I think if you asked any client, if you said, oh, here are two choices, and
this will kill you and this will not.
it's not cradle to grave, it's going to last on the planet forever, or do you like this choice, which is healthy? What client would say, oh no, I don't want to be healthy?
Well, and it's in this course they have a wheel. There's all of these considerations. It's very complex. It's not black or white, and it can be overwhelming. But what was your question? I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought.
I think it's so fascinating that it just to hear you describe it as health changes my perception.
If you think about the amount of time that we spend within the built environment and how many chemicals and how many things that we're exposed to, there's a lot of research that's kind of explores this, and I think that people will be having more awareness. I mean, to some extent they are, but certainly in the future. And I think that companies and brands and designers that are at the forefront of this conversation can really lead the way. But I mean, you take something, for example, like performance fabrics, for the most part, not all companies, there's a lot of chemicals and they come off. And I mean, this is something we've been touting to clients as like the new best thing for the past several years, when in fact they're actually quite unhealthy. And so, I think it's really exciting. I think when it comes to design, we have seen so much, and, it's kind of like, okay, well, now what can we do that has more purpose, more impact, and it's kind of like a new creative challenge for us in this industry to take on these considerations, still making it beautiful, still making it inspiring, but making it healthy, making it sustainable.
And some of it's easy to do, such as we now specify what kind of pad is delivered with an area rug, because there are ones that are healthy and good for the planet, and ones that are less so.
And what are good pads that are good for the planet?
So anything that natural fibers, anything with natural fibers is always going to be healthier than the synthetics or petroleum based things, latex, that kind of thing. And it's not. I think it's within this type of conversation, it's never about villainizing what's out there. It's about making people aware and getting people to step in the right direction. Do we still specify high gloss lacquer? Yes. Are we looking at other ways to achieve a similar effect? Absolutely. It's just kind of a process.
And I lived through an era where car paint was used. I mean,
Car paint.
Oh, car paint.
that's how lacquer the walls. That's how old-fashioned lacquer got there.
Well, not that mid-fashioned. Old-fashioned was lacquer.
Well, yeah. No, but I mean, like, old-fashioned to me is getting car paint in there, and it was considered a great luxury. Of course, like a lot of it is how it's it's wording and presentation, and yeah, your value system. We can have a say in people's value systems as long as we are thoughtful about what, you know, that beauty and luxury needn't to mean rare and deadly. You know?
No, I think we had a recent example, and Caleb, it was a client Caleb has been primarily working with, who
I've known for a long time. Yeah, it's a client I've worked with for many years, and we're doing a fairly large project with her here in the city. And we were several presentations in, and I start kind of in my subtle way proselytizing, this, and she completely pivoted on the project. Completely pivoted on the project. One, because she was now aware, and two, she just wanted to be supportive of this direction.
and what did she went home and called back a few hours later.
Yeah.
Instead of just a few things, I want to everything
To commit.
specify and select to be within the parameters of sustainability and healthy living.
It's also been really interesting to, with our team and within the office, they're so into it, and I think that it gives them kind of more like a purpose, or like a renewed kind of interest in what we're doing, in a challenge in a way. So we're having fun with it, and it's important.
And it's obviously it's good, but it's intellectual too. I mean, you must have these very interesting deep dives when you're talking about, like, what do we want more? Do we want this to be healthy and sustainable? Or what are we willing to sacrifice or change or develop so that we
But
can get.
that's the interesting thing, because we're not sacrificing it.
Yes, you're coming at it from different ways.
And there's a company actually called, it's called Nature Squared, and they make the most exquisite, it would kind of be your alternative to like the really fine materials you would use on a custom piece, but it's made out of recycled this and plant that, and I mean, it looks like the most gorgeous, expensive finish you could come across. And they are, a lot of the designers are using it, like in the like, I know Peter Marino uses panels of it, like in Chanel or wherever. So, there are products and things out there. You just have to do a little bit of digging. And like I said, it's not just about completely sourcing all new things. It's about elevating the people we do work with, and seeing what they're already doing, challenging them to do more, and to be part of the conversation.
Wow. It's very inspiring. I can see why the people in your office would be psyched by that conversation. How do the two of you collaborate together? How do you most enjoy collaborating together? Or church and state it? Do you each meet with the client separately? Are you always a team, or do you like to chew through things together?
In the early phases of the design, we always work on it together, and I find that very exciting and very dynamic, and that's one of the reasons we have an open office here. It is very collaborative, and to get the clear visions of both of us, and most of the time aesthetically and design-wise, we're quite in sync. So there's those strengths, and I think that's the great pleasure. And then once we get to the point where the clients have made their decisions, then one or the other of us will take more of a lead on a project.
Yeah, I think, the interesting thing about a partnership is everybody has strengths, and even within the office and within our own staff, you learn what people's strengths are and what they can bring to the table, and you maximize that. So, Jamie is the greatest editor you will ever meet in your life. If there is a mistake, he will find it, So, it's things, those kinds of things have value. I tend to be in like the early stages of a project, in the conceptual pages of a project, just it's all encompassing for me. I lose sleep over it, just kind of pulling that big picture together to then get to the granular. And I think that's something that I'm good at. But it's in any team, in any office structure with partnership with staff, it's understanding the strengths and really playing up on those strengths and recognizing the unique contribution that each person has. I think the one thing about our firm, which is really wonderful, is it's extraordinarily collaborative, and it's a very much a democracy. It's like a vote by design, but I think that we get really beautiful result because of that, and I also think that we have a great team because of that as well.
It just sounds like you have fun. Because that sounds like a good and fun vibe to keep, to bounce things back and forth and
well, we all know design can be really stressful. So if you're not enjoying those moments and having fun with it, it's I think at the end of the day, that creative process is what brings us all so much joy, and certainly. Bringing people together and being involved in that conversation is
and learning from each other, because the great thing about having everybody working together is if a client's challenged you to come up with some other options or something and you're a little stumped, somebody else probably has something that they can suggest that you think about using, or another way of looking at it.
Yeah. And that you might resist it first and then be like, wait a minute, that was amazing. Are you both artists?
Well, in my youth I was, and now today I'm an artist of another sort. I no longer paint, draw, or sketch particularly, although I don't do CAD, so if I am sketching a concept, it is a sketch.
I have a, what do you call it when you have a vicariously? We have a brilliant 3D artist in our office. And she she can really take a not so great sketch that I do, or a loose kind of quick sketch, and turn it into the most gorgeous and compelling 3D rendering. And they're artful. They're not like these computer generated things. I mean, she is an artist, and they have been such a useful tool for us in our design process. But I spend a lot of time with her on it. I'll sit there for a really long time, placing the flowers and adjusting the light, but it helps me also see the vision. And even in that process, we're really able to fine tune and understand details and scale. And we spend a lot of time with that. I'm so impressed that you went and took this CE class at Parsons. It's that. Do it. I'm going to hold you accountable. What? I'm going to hold you accountable. Good luck with many people tried. But no, it says so many wonderful things about who you are in your brain, and a desire to keep elastic and learning. And do you guys, are you equally committed to pursuing culture? Like, how many times do you go to the museum? Are you constantly, and I'm asking as a fellow designer, because we can all get into our groove and then separate from all of these things that feed us. So is that part of your
Isn't just waking up and breathing and then going outside of your cocoon, an absorption of culture? I don't know. It doesn't defined by a museum, but
no. But I mean, what do you do to delight yourself?
Well, I go to the theater a lot. I went to see an incredible dance performance on Friday at BAM by this Greek choreographic artist. And it was amazingly inspiring, and the takeaways, the visuals of it, because it was heavily based on the visuals of transverse orientation. And I enjoy going to art fairs and museums. And yes, for me, the cultural things are something I would do regardless, because it's something I'm excited about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love travel and I love museums. I don't go near as often as Jamie does. I think for me, it's always
got everyone beat on the out and up to date scale.
You have a different culture just by being in a new neighborhood now.
Yeah, that's true. I think for me, it's just always seeking to be inspired, because the minute you're uninspired, you're creativity just takes a nosedive. And so it's doing those things that bring you inspiration. And I think it's also just trying to find, I love beauty, and beauty in unexpected places, and always just having an eye for details and places and little random things that can turn into big ideas and concepts. And, I think that just kind of requires a level of openness and clarity and
Keeping your eyes open.
Yeah.
Just looking, being aware, making sure you smell the roses with your eyes.
Yeah. I'm looking behind you at a bookcase. What's your design library like at I beg your pardon, at Drake Anderson?
Well, mine's sold now.
Yeah. But you've
Kind of.
got your office library. I assume Jamie's got that covered.
There are a lot of books there to reference, and then there are more books floating around the office everywhere. The phone is leaning up against a pile of books that includes a Patrick Nagar book, The World of Biedermeier, The Silk Road, a Dale Chihuly book, and A Tale of Warp and Weft by Davis and Fraser from Fort Street Studios. So there you go.
It's a lot of gifted books from other designers and artists. It's also, I feel like sometimes for projects, our own research, we'll order books to kind of research things. So there's some that are very specific to certain projects that we've done. Like there's several books back there on a barn. So, you wouldn't necessarily expect to find, 7 books on barns, but they're on the shelf.
I see so many comments from everybody. You have a very engaged audience here. Yes,
Yeah.
we often go to art fairs to source our pieces.
And somebody else wants to know what, it just went away.
They go fast.
Which natural phenomenon inspires you the most? Or phenomenon?
Sunrise and sunset.
I mean, the seasons. I love the seasons. And, I'm originally from Central Texas, and we have really hot and kind of hot. And so, one thing that I've loved always about New York is the seasons, and there's very distinct seasons and beautiful. I love the fall, just coming out of fall. But just kind of watching that slow change in nature, it's always been fascinating to me.
So I know that you have a 3D artist. Caleb, do you do CAD?
I do, yeah. I mean, not like I used to, but yeah, no, I definitely do CAD. It was
me and our finance director are the only non-CAD literate people in the office.
But there must be many interesting things that come of your conversations from those different directions.
Well, I totally respect and know that I feel a pencil is part of my process in my brain. It's connected by my brain, just the way someone who does CAD, it's connected to their mouse.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, sit there and draft an entire floor plan anymore. It's not a good use of my time, but I can open it up and check something, or but I certainly did that at one point.
And I can't.
Yeah, that's interesting that you said it's not a good use of my time. I am, even in my middle ages, still not sure what is and isn't a good use of our time. There's so much nonsense that can be useful. Like, even if it's not directly useful, at least that's when I'm engaging in nonsense. Drawing, sketching, referring back to books.
That's all good use of your time.
Right? I mean, we could call that a good use of our time, even if it's not direct. But one of the things that I love doing that doesn't always get done, for designing plates. I do not have a line of plates, but I've designed a line of plates. I've designed many lines of plates. Do you guys design product prior to doing it? I know furniture.
We design mount for our projects. We have a beautiful line of hardware with Baxter. It's delicious and wonderful.
So one thing in going back to my healthy materials sustainability conversation, I've been doing when I have time, which is not a lot lately, working with the 3D artists who are designing pieces and exploring different materials. So I have several things that have no place, but it's just kind of seeing what can happen.
Yeah, I do think all of the furniture companies that we know and love that do manufacture designer lines do need to dip their toe in. You know, they can't be afraid of doing sustainable or healthy design.
Call us.
What?
I said call us
Yeah,
for you.
to start somewhere, right? They can start small and see how it goes, and then you can infect them with best practices.
Well, for years, I said the issues of sustainability, solar panels, and all of that will be the great design opportunity for the future designers. And it is here now, and any corporate company that's ignoring it, and for the most part, the big ones are not ignoring it, they're embracing it fully, but they need to ramp up even faster.
Yeah, because the desire is there. The hunger from the consumer to have things that are ethical in one way or the other is there. It is acute.
Besides even the desire from the consumer, I think that it will be legislated. Look at New York City, our requirements having to do with power usage.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons we work with the lighting designers now all the time, besides of their great expertise, is because it's so complicated.
Yeah.
Calculations that are needed, and the creativity to reach the optimum output and effects while still being within the parameters that are law.
Yeah, but the law passed unless people believe in them. So they got to want them first. And I do read all the time that the younger people are much more committed to a life of.
Well, that's certainly the emerging consumer is aligning with companies and brands that operate with a higher purpose, and I think beyond it being important, it's good business as well. But what I was just going to add to that, I think for any company or any manufacturer, there's a lot of greenwashing and all of these things. Like, it really has to come from a place of genuine desire and authenticity to to make these products differently and to create these products differently. And it's there's so much. It's bringing together many. I feel like we should have some regular forum or summit or something where we bring together the designers and architects and the manufacturers and green chemists and all of these heads together to see what can be done, what can be created. It's like you take the green chemists need to hear from designers what they actually want, what their clients want. So these are things that need to happen.
I need us to codify our language because it's very confusing. You hear organic and you assume that's a good thing, but it could be asbestos. I mean, these words are used so broadly and so sometimes opaquely that all of your
just because something's made of recycled content doesn't mean that it's necessarily good, because it may have no circularity. So August, our healthy materials consultant, is doing a wonderful job of giving us an organizational system, a reference system with like labels and that because it is overwhelming and confusing. Maybe you need an August.
I need a June. I totally, was not thinking that this was the conversation we were going to have. Are you still there? Hold on.
Yes. We lose you?
And I am loving it. But I would love to hear, before I lose you, more about the book or more about what you're doing, because you're obviously like killing it. Like, you're leading the way. So what's going to be new for you?
It's the book is out, and you can get it online. You can get it in bookstores, and that that baby is born. I think what we're excited to do that we haven't done is hotel and hospitality work. We have one that is in-house currently, but we would like to embrace more fully in that direction.
I get a Drake Anderson hotel, please.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we just kind of continue to work on exciting, inspiring projects and doing that, always evolving and seeing what's next. And the book certainly represents beautiful chapters, and it'll be really interesting to see what the next book holds. Hopefully we do one, and it doesn't take this long. But yeah, no, it's the book is a dream. It's a dream.
Well, talking to you is a dream, and I am so inspired by the whole health and sustainability conversation. And to have a firm as major as yours promoting this and committing to it is such an incredible example. So, thank you.
Well, the way that we're doing this is, it's like a case study. It's not like some proprietary secret. The more people get on board in this conversation, is the better.
So the next thing is, for our next Kips Bay, we need to get a council or advisory body together to help some of the designers make better choices as they rush to do their rooms.
Yeah.
Well, as Caleb said, most clients, they're always worried about budget and timing, but they don't think about health, as you said before. And you're right, there's ways to, with Show House, it's always budget and timing, but why shouldn't the health be a part of the equation too?
Totally be a part of the equation. Yeah, if you can.
A couple of years, I think we've had wellness-focused rooms, but there's a concept. I don't know how deep they delved into the reality of it.
Yeah, and wellness is used loosely, right? I mean, I think of a wellness room sometimes means a spa, but it could also mean larger things, bigger.
It does, and I launched a wellness organization. You should follow me, well__designed on Instagram.
Well__designed, and was it Nature Square?
Nature Square, they're a great resource, for beautiful, sustainable, healthy materials.
Fantastic. Well, thank you guys so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alexa.
I'm bound to see Jamie
Yes.
in a day or so. When am I going to see you, Caleb?
Well, come
Now
visit.
you don't live near me. Now I want to come over and see where you live.
Yeah. It's a flood recovery zone right now.
Oh, is it that bad?
Well, I mean, there's ripped open walls with garbage bags.
Yeah, that's not
You
good.
didn't know he's been living at the office? Yeah.
It's
That's fun.
All right.
Good. What?
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Kisses to you both, and I will see you soon.
All right, bye.
Bye, and congratulations on the book.
Thank you.
you.